Hey guys, Adrian here for Digital Dojos at DigitalDojos.com. This is my WWDC 2014 full overview and personal thoughts and opinions on the releases, announcements, all of that. That being said, if you want to watch my full hour and a half, 2 hour live stream I did with Duncan, it was a laid back or mobile phone in 2003, as you may know him. I did a full thing on YouTube. You can watch our Google Hangout. It was laid back. We just talked about our live commentary as the event went on. Anyways, that being said, I want to go over what was announced. Really, this year was a main focus on two things, iOS and OS X. This is my fourth year really covering this as in terms of I've done this, 4 years in a row. It was a real different event for me. I'm going to get to that in the end as I wrap it up. I just want to get into the announcements first off. First off, OS 10.10 Yosemite was announced. This is the latest version of OS X. It's going to be a free upgrade and available in the fall. There is going to be a beta version for regular users, not just developers, so you can sign up to that once that's announced. It's really iOS meets OS X. And I know I said that with Mavericks, but this is really the best unification that they could have ever possibly gotten between the two platforms. It's an interface overhaul in the terms of it's very iOS 7 like. It's flatter, it's translucent, it's cleaner. It's iOS 7 ported really to OS X. You have new icons, you have that flat look, you have the translucent menu bars, and cleaned up text and typography. Sorry, my Mac went to sleep there. So that being said, a couple other things were introduced. Spotlight search launcher. Spotlight now has it's very much Alfred and Quicksilver integrated into OS X. Safari has been redesigned from the ground up. It's much more simpler. It has that definite iOS 7 look and feel to it. AirDrop update. AirDrop can finally integrate between iPhones and iPads and your Mac. That previously they were limited to Mac or iOS device to iOS device. Now they can cross mingle. iCloud Drive share. That's basically allows you to share files between multiple devices and even Windows, Mac, and iOS devices. So iCloud Drive is their way to store your devices up in the cloud. OS X Yosemite also integrates things like detecting devices nearby, so it can now detect if your iPhone or iPad are within the proximity of your Mac via networks and stuff like that, and integrate different things based off of that. Your Macs can now also receive calls based off of again the hotspot with your phone, and you can answer and use your Mac as a speakerphone essentially. Now that's really OS X Yosemite in a nutshell. Moving on to what's more of the or more announcements I guess based on iOS 8. iOS 8 was more of a refined update for me. I really thought of it as an iOS 7 point something. I think a lot of these things that they mentioned aren't killer features. These are the things that people have been asking for, bugs, annoyances, things I think we should have seen really earlier on. But we'll get into that again at the end. Small UI changes to iOS 8, nothing crazy. It's still very iOS 7 based, some icon changes, etc. Interactive notifications, they have some widgets within Notification Center like sports scores and stuff like that, but no widgets as far as the home screen. The home screen still stays the same. You can interact with notifications like quick replying on text messages, finally, calendar updates, things of that nature without having to leave the native app that you may be in. The multitasking interface, so when you double tap the home button on your iOS device, now has a little bit of change. It has recent contacts integrated across the top, so you can see people that you frequently talk to, or if you want to get quick access to them by double tapping. The Mail app for iPad and iPhone has received a lot of swipe-based gestures, so you can do things like delete mail and all these cool things. And it's also received a lot of different aspects and UI updates within the Mail itself, so you can like swipe mail. When you're writing a message, if you need to refer to something, you can swipe the message down and get what you need and swipe back up. It's real cool kind of integration and updates. Enterprise updates as well for things like calendar and email, VIP threads, things of that nature. So for people within business, there's some nice new updates packed into iOS 8. The keyboard, so this is something more universal for all users. They integrated something called QuickType, which is basically predictive text. So it looks at how you type and the words you use frequently, whether it's slang or not, and it tries to predict based off of that the words you're going to use so you can type much more faster and quicker. It's like autocorrect on steroids, really. And they've also announced third-party support. So keyboards like Swipe, etc., developers will now be able to integrate those in third-party support. I'm guessing this means we're going to see stuff like that in the App Store. I don't know, but that's a nice new thing, too. They finally released that and announced that in the keynote. Messages, the Messages app has received a couple new updates. Leaving group messages, finally you can now leave group threads and you can put them on Do Not Disturb and things of that nature, so you can put specific threads on Do Not Disturb. Quick reply, like I mentioned. Voice messages, you can leave little voice messages within messages now, so just audio snippets. And inline messaging, so you can send video within the Messages app, and essentially what that means is now you can watch the video within the app without having to like full screen the video and get out of that experience. Also, SMS messages now sync up with your iMessages app on OS X too, so that's a cool little thing. You don't just get iMessages. The Photos app, now photos sync across every device. There's been a lot of issues with this with photo stream and stuff like that, so now you get it across all your devices. Family sharing, so for some family stuff, shared purchases, locations, photos across all your family's devices, and some security features built into that. So a lot of issues with in-app purchases, with the kids using in-app purchases with their parents' account. Now it requires verification. So if mom has an iPhone and her son has an iPhone, if the son tries to buy something, you can set it up so it requires verification on the mom's device before he can buy anything. Lastly, they integrated something called HealthBook, which is their tracking fitness app. Really cool thing. It's an Apple thing that I think down the road it's going to tie in with a lot of things. Basically, it wants to tie in on multiple devices like the Fitbit, heart rate monitors, pedometers, all those things, and track all your information and diagnostics as far as health and fitness go. Last but not least, to kind of wrap up iOS and OS X, they talked about continuity. Continuity is really their seamless integration of Mac, OS X, and iOS, being able to relay messages to each other, and a lot of cool stuff. So a couple of the things you can do now, like I talked about earlier, OS X now detects devices nearby. So if you're typing an email on your iPhone as you walk into the office and you need to attach a picture that's on your desktop, it recognizes that you have mail open here, and if you open up mail or click a little icon on OS X, basically your message is going to transfer from here to here instantly and knows right away you could drop the picture in and send it. It's really seamless. A lot of other cool stuff, like if you have Pages on each of your iPhone or iPad and Mac, if you're typing up something in Pages and you got to go, it knows that. It automatically syncs it so that you can just swipe up from the home screen on your iPad and Pages is already open with the document you're working on. So really, really great, seamless integration between both the Mac platform, the desktop platform, and the mobile platform, finally being integrated between the two. Last but not least, what they really spent a lot of the last portion of the event doing was talking about the SDK, talking about a whole slew of new things for developers. The things they're going to have access to. So the Touch ID kit, they can now finally integrate things with the fingerprint scanner. Photo kit, the camera API, they can do a lot of things with the camera and photo editing and stuff like that for developers. Health kit and home kit are big new things. Health kit relating back to that of the fitness trackers and integrating that with their devices. HomeKit is for appliances. So we talked a lot about the smart home and how Apple is getting into that. Now developers can integrate things with Siri so that you can tell Siri to dim the lights, and it can adjust like your Philips Hue lights, or open the garage and it'll open up your automated garage, things of that nature. So a lot of things are going to be integrated with the new HomeKit for developers to access. CloudKit, as far as gaming and graphics go, Sprite Kit, Scene Kit, and Metal are the things they talked about at the event. Basically, these are all new things for people to do more casual gaming and more higher scale gaming. Metal is a new thing for developers to really access high-end graphics on the iPad or iPhone and really make even much more realistic games that are compared to what's already out there. Enhanced graphics, all that good stuff. And last but not least, they left with talking about their new programming language for Cocoa and Cocoa Touch. A whole new programming language called Swift. Basically, it's based off of, works alongside Objective-C, and it works in a much more interactive, easier, and safer way. It's a much more easier way to code in terms of it allows you to focus. They had this whole demo of somebody coding on screen, really, and walking them through it. It's much more technical, definitely. This is something more geared specifically for the developer audience. But basically, it's easier for developers to learn this language in code. It's safety tolerant, so it looks for faults and things of those natures within code. And also, it's I'm not a programmer myself. I don't know too much about this, but from what I've learned and read so far, it's a much more easier language to pick up and learn, and to code as far as iOS and making an app. They show how you have to focus on less, and you can. It's much more easier to. I don't even know how to put this in a proper way because I don't want to get people upset out there because, again, I don't know the proper technical terms. But basically, it's their new programming language for iOS and OS X as far as apps go. So, all of that said and done, OS X Yosemite, iOS 8, SDK, it was a software-based event. There was zero hardware announcements. And I know a lot of people are saying, like, people were too expectant of hardware announcements. This is a developers conference. For sure, this is a developers conference. As far as developers go, they released a lot of new things. I think this event as a whole showed Apple thinking more long-term. They opened the doors for long-term opportunities as far as what's going to be brought. It's putting everything in the hands of developers and saying, here you go, do what you got to do what you want to do. They're giving the tools to these developers to build a lot of crazy new things for both OS X and iOS, because now the integration and the seamless communication between two are so synonymous. But what's interesting is WWDC in the past has really been not just yes, it's been a developers event, but the keynotes themselves have been a way for Apple to really put themselves out there and get a lot of PR and announce a lot of new things, even if they're not releasing the hardware. Last year they talked about the new Mac Pro. They didn't release it, they announced it. They showed the MacBook Air updates. I think they even showed the iMacs. Was that at last year's event? I don't know which one, the thin iMac. But there's just a lot of stuff that they would announce and a lot of stuff that they would show to get people on their toes and ready for the fall season when the hardware actually gets released. I guess this time, because there was so much developer stuff for iOS 8, they really wanted to focus on software. But for me personally, it's a change in terms of, it's a shift in terms of the WWDC event. I think this is how it's really going to be for the years to come. Very, very, very software focused. Software focused, OS X, iOS, that's all they're going to be really talking about, and then talk more about the SDK and things for developers, and then have their hardware releases later in fall. But it's just really interesting, because if there is going to be a new iPhone with a bigger screen and a higher resolution, people are going to get used to iOS 8. They're going to learn how to, the new Swift programming language and all this, and then they're going to have to adjust for that of the new devices coming out a couple months from now. It's really interesting. Like I said, it's just a change of event and change of pace for how Apple normally does these events. But again, for the developers, I'm sure it was a really, really great event, and they did really talk a lot about a lot of cool new things. But as far as things like OS X Yosemite, it's a great update. It's a nice unification that's really exciting. iOS 8, it was more of a refined update for me. I'm not too excited about it. And normally I'm really optimistic when it comes to these events for Apple and the things that they're releasing and ready to update. iOS 8 to me, the way I think of it is, if I was to tell somebody to update from 6 to 7 and why they need to do that, it's easy. It's a whole new user interface. There's a lot of new stuff, and it's basically the way things are going. They need to get used to that because that's how OS X is. It's a whole new interface in iOS 7. But when you say why you need to update to iOS 7 to iOS 8, it's a little bit iffy. Why you need to buy a new device with iOS 8 on it? The selling feature isn't going to be you have a predictive type, you have quick replies and messages, you have interactive notifications in a sense. Those are refined updates to me. Those are updates we should have seen long ago. Those are updates I think we could have seen in iOS 7. I think it's more of a future long-term thing. HealthBook, HomeKit, all these cool things down the road will be cool things once they get integrated with devices, once they get integrated with other software. But as of right now, iOS 8 to me was more of a refined update. That's my own personal opinion. And I'm still excited. I watch these events because one of my businesses bases off iOS and what's up and coming, and I need to be in the loop with that thing. But as far as that, technology in general hasn't been. I haven't been in the loop and really excited as of late. But nonetheless, I'd love to hear what you guys think, what you guys are most excited for. I think for me personally, it's going to be OS X Yosemite. I definitely want to see that integration between iOS and OS X. iOS 8 will maybe something I'll hold back on before I update, because I'm still jailbroken on iOS 7. I'll probably update on a separate iOS device to really try that out and give it the run through. But again, for developers, a lot of cool stuff, a lot of great tools, a lot of great utilities. Love to hear what you guys think. Thank you so much for sitting through this 13 minutes of me talking about the event and my own personal thoughts and opinions. I'm going to be releasing a lot of new articles with the launch of DigitalDojos.com regarding iOS 8, OS X Yosemite, going in further in depth and talking a lot about the new things that were released. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Again, comment down below with your own personal opinions and thoughts. Like the video if you enjoyed, and of course subscribe. Thanks for watching.